So last night, the newest entry in the John Wick series, Ballerina, made its debut. Should you go check it out this weekend? Let's talk about it. So last night I had the chance to go see Ballerina, which obviously is like of the new kind of John Wick universe, if you want to call it that. I'd actually love to see more films like this, even if they're not like, you know, Ana de Armas, like just different people throughout this universe. You know what movie I'd take? If you guys remember I don't know what his name is. I don't even know if like they really give him a name per se. But the dude in John Wick Chapter 4 that has like the dog and the shotgun and backpack, give me a movie about that dude, because he's been one of the most interesting characters in all of these movies. So I'd gladly take a movie about him, but I'm not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Ballerina and just how great it actually is, because for a spin-off movie that, you know, maybe doesn't have the, you know, in line with all of the stuff that John Wick does it pretty well for itself. So I'm going to talk about all that, you know, the whole movie, what I thought about it. There will not be spoilers, so if you're, you know, worried that there's going to be spoilers or anything, you don't have to worry about that. But if you guys want more stuff like this, subscribe, because it helps me, and then it helps you, so I can put out more stuff for you guys. Let's go. So the first thing I thought they did pretty well with this movie was just giving Ana de Armas's character, Eve, a pretty good backstory. I didn't know how much they were going to kind of, you know, go into that, being that these movies primarily serve as, you know, stunt coordinators and just action movies first, right? If you don't get the action right in these movies, then really what's the point of making them? That's the whole point, right? But they actually, like in the very beginning of this film, set up Eve's backstory very well. I would say, you know, a good amount of time is spent, you know, developing her as a character and where she came from, and just, I don't know, I kind of enjoyed it. Mix that with like the way that they infused her into like the John Wick story. I feel like it's done very neatly and very smoothly, and I was a fan of that. Now, if you've seen the trailer, you'll know that Norman Reedus appears at some point, and for that, I have to say, I really like, you know, everything that involved him, but I will say I was surprised at the character that he played in this movie. I wasn't expecting him to play the type of character he did, but I still very much enjoyed, you know, it was kind of a good surprise. It's just, I guess I didn't really see them going that route, but it works. Another thing that they showed a lot of in this movie, that they've done in the John Wick movies too, but definitely in this one, is they show that Eve is not like immune, if that makes sense. Like, she does at points get maybe shot, but definitely stabbed. And like, things definitely don't always go her way, which is like, I'm glad that they don't like make her like some, you know, unstoppable force, which she's close to that. But like, even when they send in John Wick to come after her, like, they kind of have mutual ground on why they're doing things for like the right reason. And I like the way that they kind of build that relationship while also like not breaking the rules of, you know, what their own missions are. I thought the main like bad guys, if you want to call them that, were pretty neat. They were just obviously like a cult, and the whole, you know, thing with involving, you know, her being very close to this cult and her family and everything like that, I thought was pretty neat. There are a few surprises in there that I'm obviously not going to spoil, but when they came out on screen, I was like, oh, wow, like this is way more like closely knit than I had originally thought. You heard me mention about John Wick. They do kind of have little moments in here where they kind of show him from John Wick 3, Parabellum. Again, it's implemented very smoothly. I think that's mostly just due to the fact that, you know, him getting introduced to the ballerinas in Chapter 3 was kind of like a small thing, so they didn't really have to, you know, watch their toes too much when they were trying to blend these two together. But I love the way that they, you know, kind of infuse this. And furthermore, when, you know, they hire John Wick to kind of go after Eve, it's very, you kind of feel like they're two parts of the same coin. And he wants to help her, but also like not at the risk of his life. This movie had a lot more creativity. I would say, honestly, probably one of the more creative of the John Wick movies, because there's a whole moment where they aren't like, they're not even using guns, and it's just explosives. That scene was awesome, between, you know, throwing flashbangs and just the different acrobatic stuff and, you know, blowing people to smithereens, right? I loved it. I thought it was great. From just a purely movie making level, I think the biggest thing I enjoyed was the color palette, like just all the different colors and the way that they kind of like, it kind of, I almost want to say it's like psychedelic, like you could almost like be hypnotized by, especially in some certain areas. But the John Wick movies are kind of, you know, known for having very good visuals. I mean, look at some of the covers of these movies. They all visually look stunning. Again, this one is no different. It has a lot of cool, like, especially like in the winter areas, just like the lighting, and it all looks really good. The last thing I'll say is just that I'm glad they kind of, you know, I don't want to spoil too much, but they do leave room for a follow-up to happen in this movie. Obviously, John Wick will not end up dying in this movie because he goes on to be in John Wick Chapter 4. But for her character, they definitely leave room that there could be a follow-up in the future. And I would honestly like to see her, you know, be in like a John Wick Chapter 5, which I believe is confirmed at this point. So if you haven't, you know, seen those articles, you might want to check them out, because although we did see John Wick die in Chapter 4, I don't think any of us really think he's dead. But yeah, guys, that is my review for Ballerina from the world of John Wick. Let me know what you guys thought about it, and I will be putting out a ranking sometime soon of all of these movies, including Ballerina, so stay tuned for that. And, you know, if you want to leave your ranking down below, or wait till that video comes out and then drop your ranking, whatever you want to do, or just leave your thoughts on the movie as well if you plan on seeing it this weekend. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace, Kernels.